Thank you very much for all the information that you guys put into this and the research and all the work.
Gracias por la oportunidad, es un honor tenerlo acá. Yo quisiera comenzar en preguntarle, como para entrar muy bien en confianza, y es preguntándole sobre un cortometraje. Muy pocos lo han podido visibilizar, que se llama A Büvész. Entonces quisiera saber cómo fue la experiencia en este gran debut y qué recuerdas de ello.
We're going early in your career with short film. I hope I pronounce it right. It's called a büvész. I don't know how I pronounce it, but what are the memories that you got with this short film, this very, very early short film in the beginning of your career?
A büvész. Okay.
Yes.
That was like really, really a long time ago. It was probably when I was. Thank you very much for having me, first of all. Second, well, my list is quite long. So starting it at this particular short movie, it was at the Academy of Acting when I learned where I learned drama, film, movie acting, and acting, mostly theatrical acting. And one of my friends asked me to participate in this little short movie. He was the director of the movie, Gábor Rohonyi. So it was his vision, and it was a small role. So it was kind of a, just somehow give birth to a character. It was just a small appearance, a cameo. I would not really particularly would like to talk a lot about this project, but it was one of the first short movies that I ever did. I just was trying to get as much experience as I could.
Quisiera, felicitarlo porque tiene un amplio portafolio sobre todo lo del cine, dirección de fotografía, todo eso. Pero hay algo que sí, la verdad es una producción que vi hace mucho rato y que se llama, pues, A Minister. Bueno, tú dirás el nombre porque es muy curioso. Eres la segunda persona húngara en estar en el canal. La primera fue Lili Bordán, bueno, aunque tiene descendencia con estadounidense. Entonces yo quisiera preguntarte sobre qué recuerdas sobre esta producción, sobre que es algo no solo ablandar el tema de lo político con algo real.
I don't know where Jhon watched this movie. Minister Ferdinand left. But there are two things. You're the
Okay.
second person from Hungary here in the channel, so great. The first one was Lili Bordán. And
Okay.
yes, how was working in this project that is like a mixing politics with movies? And by the way, yeah, you're right. Jhon announced that you got a really, really big resume in the movies, not only acting, but also in the field of photography, cinematography. So it's great, yes.
Well, that movie came like after I finished my studies at the Academy of Acting, and straight out of the academy, I completed my first theatrical success, which was Othello, and that was like a big success, and that shot me out somehow to the stratosphere. And I felt like I was playing the part of the young genius in the Hungarian cultural life, and somehow this role of Minister Félrelép, out of order, this role found me. I actually was one of the first people who made the casting, and I did an audition, and they immediately accepted my my audition. It was a huge success. The movie, it was Andy Vajna, the big Hollywood producer who came back to Hungary. He is originally from Hungary, as a 56 descendant, or actually he escaped from Hungary, their family and whatever. But this was the first project he came back to Hungary to do, and it was a huge success. It was an American type of movie, the first one in many years, and it had a huge publicity and promotion value and everything. So it was watched by a lot of people, mostly the whole country, and it was a big success. It was a comedy. It was actually originally the original version was The Ray Kuhn is Out of Order. It was based on his theatrical play, which was played in a theater, and somehow Andy got invited by the lead characters, and he liked it so much that he said we should turn this into a movie comedy. So we did it, and I was lucky and fortunate enough to get the role. And at the age of 24, it really made me like well known amongst the whole country. And it was in 1996, and I was very at a young age. I was 24. It made me, like a kind of a well-known person. And since that, I have the luck of this popularity or well-known person, you know. So it was actually a big stepping stone for me, and it was quite an important piece of work.
And it's great because it crossed barriers. I mean, if here in Latin America you watch it, it must be a huge success. And I was watching the resume from the producer. Oh my God, I didn't know it, and it's amazing. All the movies that all the big hits that he produced in the States and in Hungary. And now I'm lucky because I wanna ask you. I had to do it. Talking about crossing borders, you know that you worked with one of the heroes from Latin America. I mean, I need to know how was working with Guillermo del Toro in Hellboy 2, man.
Guillermo, well, yeah, he is a perfectionist. He is a genius. I think he's just one of the most wonderful directors of today. I really love him, and I think he's just he's quite he has his vision, and he's a he's a genius. He's a professional. He knows everything. He draws the script himself. I mean, is like doing all these visuals, and he has all these dreams, and he has all this like visual art that he already sees, and he's just in love with what he's doing, and he's so detailed, and he's just such a master of telling a story in a futuristic, science fiction, horroristic, dramatized way that is just a little over the top. I mean, it's a Hitchcockian storytelling, right? But visually, it's so strong, and somehow all these creatures and all these objects and all these stories are so compelling and heartbreaking sometimes. He's just a master. He's a big puppet master, and we all who were lucky enough to work with him, we probably could be all his little puppets. That's what I could say. He's a kind of a master of souls, master of puppets. But he's a very super relevant guy, very strong director.
And it's great because for me, this movie is one of the great reference in how to adapt a comic to screen. So thank you, man, for answering that. As a Latino, we are very thankful. And Jhon,
Pregúntale sobre uno de los videojuegos que han estado más revolucionando acá en Latinoamérica.
Okay, Jhon, and yes, he's right. And we need to know because we also know that in your resume you also do like voice over, and yeah, man, you will appear in one of the not only biggest video games here in Latin America but in the world. It's Call of Duty Modern Warfare, man.
Yeah.
And if you had worked in another kind of projects like that, tell us.
Well, I the voiceover in Hungary is quite popular because we dub everything. So we turn everything into Hungarian. Not only the subtitles, but all the American movies are actually dubbed into Hungarian language. So as I grew up as an actor, I immediately had to grow into giving my voice to different movies and productions and different animation work and different I didn't ever do soap operas, but I did like bigger, larger movies, and like from Marlon Brando to a lot of Daniel Day-Lewis to a lot of characters I actually gave my voice to. And there was a project called Ruben Brandt, The Collector, which came out a couple of years ago, and it almost made it to the Oscars, to the best 5. Somehow we were not lucky enough to make it to the best 5, but we were there at the pre-selection. It was a great movie. It's a masterpiece as well. It's real art turned into a movie. It's a animation, movie made from real art and real bizarre characters, and the whole world of this movie is just really, really wonderful. So I'm really proud of it that I was chosen to be. I auditioned for a role, for one of the roles, and I actually was chosen to play Ruben Brandt himself. So I had the honor to give my voice to the lead, and that's when I started looking for an agency, or that's how I got my agency actually in Los Angeles. Who I'm working with till this day, and it's this voiceover business is the same kind of business as acting. It's a little probably it's a little smaller circle even, and and I auditioned for, and I'm doing auditions for many different projects, and this was my second video game. First one's going to come out in the springtime, but that's I cannot talk about that, but it's going to be a really, really big one. It's a very interesting project, and this is the second one that I started doing, the Call of Duty, and we had to shoot it in London. So I went to London and we recorded the sessions in London. It was, interesting, and it was, I'm not saying nothing new, because when I first started doing video games, it's a little different, but it's voiceover work. So voiceover, I am familiar with, but obviously it's a different setup. It's a different surroundings, and they capture your momentum as well. They capture your gestures, my movements, my head, my face gestures on video. And they had a funny way of putting up the microphones, and it was nice. It was fun. It's actually it's very, very, it's a hard thing to do, because there are some cataclysma situations when you feel like you're in a real war, and you're like dying, and you're doing all these very, very huge efforts and you're like, you have to go through those, and you have to live through all these efforts, and it's a little bit like dubbing an action movie or a horror movie, where you have to like constantly all these particular sounds, the rhythms, and these guys, these directors and producers, they're really well aware of what they want to hear. So they almost have like the notes written down, and particularly the rhythm and everything they want to hear. But there's a little bit of a freedom in there, and and my character was fun to play, and I think it's a very rock and roll kind of character, which is gives a little more character. Actually, there's a little chance to show a little character in that, even in the combat fields.
Man, I have to say two things, and in fact, I asked a favor to Jhon. First,
Okay.
the curiosity start killing me, because if this speed video game, Call of Duty, is part of your resume, the other one I will know later is killing me. I freaking love video games. And man, I want to share you something. In fact, I will speak in Spanish. Don't pásale ese link.
Ya
I
sé,
was I was reading about Ruben Brandt, because I love
Yeah.
anime. And man, no, is in that page is not only on the best movies of that year, but also from history, and even this critique appears. It's from one of the users. One can only hope to stumble onto even a handful of unknown visionary animated features ground with conviction like this. Man, I need to write down that movie, because when you
Yeah, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch, and we did the Hungarian and the English version as well, and I had the opportunity to give both of give my voice for both of them. So I did the Hungarian and the English version too.
Beautiful. Dale, Jhon.
Thanks, man.
Hay una producción que él realizó, que es un corto, una historia muy buena, que es una de las que más quiere él, muy poco se la han visibilizado y es el tema de lo que es el sexismo en el horario laboral. Yo quiero preguntarle, ¿esta historia ayudará mucho a personas que de pronto pasen por esa misma situación y que puedan de pronto solucionar? Porque es algo que es como diferente a lo que él hacía y también felicitarlo porque actuar junto con Sonia Cowley, ¡guau!, es increíble y el director de Ahora cada hora es un maestro.
Pero preguntarte antes, ¿tú la viste solo para tenerte envidia?
Sí, claro.
Okay, now I'm envying Jhon more because it talking about the personal. He had watched one of the movies that we think that is more attached to you because you produce it. That is Blood and High Heels. Before yes, before I made the question, Jhon sends to kudos because yeah, he really loved that you worked with Sonia Cooley. Second,
Yeah.
he said, and he watched it, so I envy him that you work with David. I hope I pronounced it right, David Getzi.
Yeah.
But man, yes, the question is, do you think, knowing that this movie deals with a very, very real subject that is sexism in the world ambience, and it's a problem that all women struggle in the world. Do you think that this short film can help somebody in that kind of situation? I don't know.
It's very interesting because I'm actually glad that you guys were talking about and thank you very much for being so, for doing all the research. Yes. It's rare that nowadays that they know what they're doing and that they know what they're talking. So it's a big honor. So yes, this movie was quite interesting. It was based on a Hungarian novel that was only written in a couple of. It was like a very short mini novel, like a couple of sentences. And David really found this very somehow inspiring. This mini novel, and he started thinking about it, and he came up with a script. We've been working together, so we found somebody. Actually, he wrote it in Hungarian, and then we were thinking about doing something in English, some international stuff. So I helped him to actually turn it into and translate it into English, and then I reached out to Sonia, who I'd been working with before at the Mark, a movie called Mark in Los Angeles. So that is why we had the connection, and she said she would be glad to do it. And we flew her over and had her for a couple of days, and that's when we shot the most of the whole movie. And actually, it was the interesting topic that you came up with. Is it's happened before the Me Too thing, this whole Me Too uh, movement, and somehow this whole movement, and obviously all these abuses and all these uh, quite uncomfortable situations that the world started to give a name to and give faces and name people who were involved in these situations, gave a different perspective to this whole idea. And before that, it was just a movie. It was a little more like talking about a problem that nobody wanted to talk about that much. But after the whole world started exploring this and started to come up with all these facts and reality, the meaning started to change, and actually it became very actual. So and real, and that was giving another opportunity for the movie, I guess, to be watched. And I think it's on Amazon, so you can reach it or anybody can watch it. But it's an interesting topic that we talked about, and obviously it is very real. And back in the days, mostly our profession, for example, involving myself, at the Academy of Acting, it was a very different kind of, education. All the teachers were trained in Moscow and in Russia, and all these Stanislavski methods. They were super rough, They were like, they were criticizing. They were like saying things that were super rude. I mean, you nowadays you cannot get away with those things that we've been actually how we were brought up. but we got used to it, obviously, because that was our life, and that was the way they taught us. But obviously, when I got the chance to teach, I was trying to give much more appreciation and love instead of like fear. I always choose love against fear. So that's the point of the whole movie as well. And the lead, the bad guy, who actually unfortunately I had to play the bad guy. He gets punished at the end of the movie, as you can see that. It's a sarcastic little, short movie, but it's quite fulfilling.
Thank you for the words that you say. And in fact, I was telling John, agradecelo, obviamente.
Yeah.
No, gracias por todo, por el cumplido, pero también es una labor que nosotros hacemos.
Yes, in fact, John is right. Thanks for the compliment. But it's a labor that we both, the channel is from John, but later I joined.
Yeah.
It's a labor that we need to do for this,
Yeah.
for the industry, man. We are tired of, I know we are not a huge channel in terms of money, but we don't win money, but we are tired to journalists doing stupid questions to the people. You're tired, man. Ya le dije, John.
Bueno, mi última pregunta para poder culminar con broche de oro. Yo le quiero hablar sobre una producción. Ya si Andrés me complementa, está bien. Movideos es una dirección de fotografía que tú hiciste. Todos hablan sobre poemas. ¿Puedes recordar su poema o cuál es tu poema favorito si quieres recitarlo? O si tienes una frase, espléndido.
Ok, pero yo pensé que le iba a decir que a ti te encantó de Mar.
Ah, sí, claro. Por favor, dile.
Okay, no. Before the question, yes, I needed to do it because he freaking loved the franchise from the Mar. But the question is not from that. But he needed to say it. Man, the last question is about Moviverse. I hope I pronounced it right. And it's great because when Lily was here, he was talking about adapting literature from Hungary. We know that it's a country. I think from there is I don't remember the name, but you have to forgive me because I really read a lot of books about the country, but yeah,
Okay.
man, what is your favorite writer? I don't know if you adapted because also worked on theater, but yes, what's your favorite poem or writer, and hopefully for your country?
Petőfi Sándor or József Attila. I don't know which one were we talking about.
No, what is your favorite?
Mine, Pilinszky János. So this whole mobile poetry idea came up from the thing that obviously Hungarian literature is important for Hungarians because there's only 10 million Hungarians, nearly 10 million Hungarians living in Hungary. So we want to keep the language, and it's very important because we have a sentence called "a nation lives by its language, or within its language," and that is quite important for us. And we have a wonderful literature. We have a lot of huge vocabulary we have like 15 words for everything. It's just very subtle things. And obviously, poetry is something that we learn in school. And somehow we have a relation as we grow up, from the teenagers, we have some relation to particular poems. And as we develop ourselves and as we grow, and they, these different poems have different effects on us. And there's a poem, at least for every single Hungarian, that is calling. And you absolutely have to have like a favorite poem, one poem at least, obviously, if you're an actor. And when you have to apply or send your application into the Academy of Acting, they ask you to recite or actually bring 15 poems with you and 5 monologues. So that's how they can see you. That's one of the auditions. And every actor has a poem that has been, following him all throughout his career. Or there's a poem that he had to say, and he constantly goes back to, and he's like, this is the poem that I like to say the most. So there's been different little poem programs in the television, like 5 minutes, 2 minutes. It's called Poems for Everyone. Vers mindenkinek in Hungarian. But you could not choose your favorite poem. You always got the poem, and you have to solve it somehow. People sometimes read it from these, hidden line readers, and people sometimes they learn it by heart, and obviously that is the way to do it. But it's a risky thing to do, because it's like you don't have you don't have a partner. It's a huge monologue, and it's a piece of drama, and you have to start it somewhere. But in the middle, you're starting in the middle, and you're describing a whole world by itself, and you have to somehow deliver all the thoughts, the ambiance, and everything. So it's pure art, actually. And there's a way we actually supposed to learn it in the school at the Academy of Acting, how to recite poems, because it's a different kind of tone that you're using. Sometimes it depends on what period of poem you're talking about. Obviously, if it's a contemporary one, then you have to be quite natural. If you're just throwing away all the rhymes, and it doesn't have to rhyme, it doesn't have to be like delivered big. But if you're talking about a classical poem, that has a different way of delivery, that you have to set the tone, you have to put it down, you have to you have to project it a little more. So my idea was that every actor has their own and favorite poem that they could reach back and go to. So I said, for particularly older actors who do not like to learn new poems, they had the luxury of show yourself or introduce yourself by the poem you love the most and you have the most to do with. So this is how it went. And my friend worked at the cultural department of Hungarian official television, who I was working with back in the days, Tamás Seres, and he helped me to push this through at the official television one. And we actually did it. We recorded 100 poems, and they were all played. And my other idea was that I wanted to do it with a mobile telephone beside of a real camera, because they actually wanted a real camera. But back in the days, 15 years ago, the mobile camera technique was not this great that it is now. We could just do it today from the mobile phone or in the television. But back in the days, they obviously wanted to have real cameras as well. So we mixed up both, and I was the operator, the cameraman for the mobile part. And that was quite a experimental, television making back in the days. But it had a lot of things to do with culture, spreading culture, and it was just a wonderful project. All the actor friends of mine, the big names were involved, and it was just great, to see each other and to not to be stressed out about the poem itself, that oh my god, I had to learn it, will I know it? Because everybody knew their poem, they knew it by heart, because they could choose it, they could choose the location, they could choose what they were wearing. Actually, they could set the whole tone of the whole thing, so they could direct themselves.
Okay, and I love that. Oh, we got 10 minutes. Okay, I love that Jhon is doing this. Before, of course, you tell to the camera your social media so people can follow you. And before we take the picture for publish this interview, he also asked me the favor to recommend you a book. And I hope I pronounce it right. By the way, Sandor Marai was the poet I was thinking about. Hungarian. But he recommends you it's like a tale from police. It's called Inre Kertes.
Es un escritor húngaro, o sea, me hace recordar a lo que ha hecho de la actuación, que se la lea, o sea, se la dedico.
In fact, he said the writings of him reminds you your acting. So, oh yeah, Jhon, great.
Thank you. You guys are wonderful. Are you guys in Colombia?
Yes, and if I was going to tell you something, because it's crazy, I really love your country because one of my best friends is there, She's a Colombian, and she's beautiful, by the way. And this is your country, in Hungary. He's studying. Hi, Marcela.
Yeah.
But yes, we are in Colombia, in the border with Venezuela. It's called Cucuta. Cucuta is a city that in the north. No, we are not in Bogota, because people sometimes think that we are in Bogota, or they even thought, Jhon, ¿cierto? They thought that we are in Los Angeles. No. We are in Cucuta, in a small city in the border with Venezuela. So I am glad that my friend Jhon got this idea, and we are the only ones.
Absolutely. It was like, it was quite an interesting thing that you guys reached out. But, to be honest with you, 20 years ago, I'd been to Bogota. And and I've been all around the world with a TV show. And it was like, the Colombian part was beautiful. And it was really wonderful. I really liked it. I mean, I didn't have a chance to go to Cartagena. People went there, but I couldn't, because, that we were separated to two groups. But we spent 5 days in Bogota. But it was quite interesting.
And what TV show were you recording in Bogota?
It was called 8 Days Around the World. And it was 8 different TV shows. Like every week, probably. It was for a month. For 2 months, actually, because it was 8 weeks. And every week we went to different countries, and we went to different continents. So it was 8 different spots around the world, and I was one of the base characters, the main characters of the 4 or 5 people who were taken around, and there were other people who joined us, particularly on those countries. So it was so much fun. And it was quite tiring, and it was very informative. It was a blessing, actually.
And it's crazy because even here in Colombia, if I visit Bogota 2 times, it's too many, and I need to go to the capital. I know it's a very beautiful city. No, Colombia is a very beautiful country, very struck by violence, but a very, very beautiful country. So thank you for your kind words to our country. And yeah, man, this is the camera. Tell your social media so people can follow you. If you want to say hi to somebody, to the channel, to Colombia, to wherever is watching, go ahead.
Well, I would like to say hi to everybody, and thanks for watching. And it was a pleasure with you guys. Thank you very much for all the information that you guys, put into this, and the research, and all the work. And great luck with you, and blessings to you guys.
And before I will translate, Jhon, los deseos fuerte.
Thanks.
And before we end, we're going to take a picture so we can share about this interview. So
good.
1, 2, and yes. Perfect.
Perfecto.
Bravo, Iván.
Thank you, Jhon.
Iván, gracias por la oportunidad. Es un honor tenerlo acá. Y bienvenido siempre al canal. Esta es tu segunda casa y bueno, bienvenido siempre.
I will compliment the words for my friend that he says that it was an honor, that you're always welcome here. This is your house, the channel in Colombia. But man, I was having a really horrible day, and you made it a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Well, that's a great compliment, and thank you very much again. Have a great day, you guys. And you might see me once in Colombia. I will let you know, okay?
I will tell to my friend Jhon, puede que Iván vuelva a Colombia. Él vino hace 20 años para un programa llamado algo así como 8 lugares del mundo. Si vuelve, él nos avisa. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you, man. A pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
Good weekend. Bye-bye.
Good weekend. Bye-bye.
Good day.